All right, Kings fans, that of course was the game that we've been waiting for the entire offseason. There were opportunities out there, there were high points, but just not enough closing the deal in the red zone. So, time to bounce back and clean up the issues and move on and head toward the ACC season here in a couple weeks. Hurricanes Live right here at the Voice of College Football, number 276. Here we go with Cam Underwood from State of the U. Cam, how you doing tonight?
Doing good, doing great. Great, good to be here and everything. So, yeah, a little bit of a tough performance. That left, left some points on the field, and performance left lacking. Development that's needed, obviously. Sorry, I'm gonna close this door and got it. Yeah, but I hate to be moral victory police, but like, there's some moral victory stuff that I'm sure that we can talk about from Saturday.
So I think the main criticism, that's an easy criticism, I don't know that it's a completely accurate criticism, is obviously 9 points on the board. And then if anybody knows anything of what happened, there were some, goal-to-goal situations that needed to be cashed in on. Then it's easy, then if you watched a little bit of the game at least, or those situations, to say too conservative. The overall game plan, most people look, when they talk conservative game plans, they look at run-pass ratio. That certainly wasn't the case. They put it up 41 times in a game that was generally roughly tied one-score game, did become a two-score game for a little bit in the third quarter. But in those situations, do you think they were too conservative?
Absolutely. 100%. Just, yeah, if you're going to lean on Texas A&M, which we could have, because we were averaging 5.5. I mean, it was 7 yards a carry for a while, and it ended up at Miami is the away team, and it ended at 4.9 for the game, but Tyler Van Dyke had a couple negatives in there. But you're talking 5 yards a carry, man. That's that's good business in the run game, and that's, if you're looking for a positive or something, like I said, I'm not going to debate you if you're looking for that silver lining. That's a big step forward for where Miami was against a top tier, physical, talented, large team, unable to run the ball forever. And then Cristobal and Mirabal come here and 5 yards a carry. But if you're going to lean on them, lean on them. If you're just throwing the ball to throw it, why? If the path to victory, for whatever reason, you decided was you're going to take the ball out of Tyler Van Dyke's hands and make him a game manager because we don't have any receivers, of note on the team. We're going to run the ball and pick our spots to, throw it 15 times. Then run the damn ball. But then you just have this you mirror Jimbo inside the 10 there. You're at a snail's pace. They're packing it. They're, packing the box. They're walking up the linebackers and the safeties and saying, we're all run blitzing. Figure it out. And you just dive into that. You try to run power a couple times, pulling the backside guard to the play side. He didn't even get there, because they're just crashing everybody from the second and third levels inside the box. Right. So I get that you want to run power, but you can't even get to the point of setting the blocks to run power. It was so frustrating. And then it just, you didn't even consider throwing the ball. You could have run a smash route. I was watching replays of games. Minnesota was inside the 10, and they're running a slower tempo than anybody in America. And they have a higher success rate rushing. They're one of two teams, the other being Michigan, like I talked about in my piece a couple weeks ago, that has a higher success rate rushing than Miami. They came into the, into a tight space. Now it was against Colorado, who I know is terrible, but they ran smash, and Tanner Morgan puts one to the corner. Boom, that's a touchdown. Why are we not running that on first down? You know what I mean? Or at least try. And that's where, to me, when it was 17-3, ran it 3 times in a row and settled for a field goal inside the 10-yard line. Come on, bro. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. It was way too conservative. They took the air out of the ball. We're moving the ball. We had 140 more yards offense than they did. You know, if you look at just the stats, we dominated the game. We held the ball more. We ran it better. We had more tackles for loss, sacks, hit their quarterback 12 times. Tyler Van Dyke got hit 5 times, didn't get sacked. You know, we didn't really have negative plays. Like, if you look at everything, but the conservatism inside the 10 was really, really, really frustrating. Really frustrating. And I know that, you know, and I said this as I watched the game. They tried to dial up some shots a couple times. The thing about it was A&M was like, cool, we're just going to play cover 3 on top. You know, anytime that it looks weird or we get the feeling that maybe something's up, you know, you run the flea flicker, try to get Keyshawn from the right side on a skinny or a post, but they're playing 3 high. So then you hit Michael Redding on the over route there. Cool. You run something similar later in the game and try to hit him on an over. Tyler Van Dyke missed that throw. And that ended up being a turnover on, well, not turnover on downs on that one, but we ended up punting. You know, you get Henry Parrish one-on-one with a slow linebacker on 3rd and 9 on that drive. That was 17-3. And that drop was so massive. That's a first down. And if he makes a play, like he can make a play, and we've seen him make a play both at Miami and at Ole Miss, Henry Parrish might score on that. And I'm not saying that he would have walked in, because there's another defender there with the guy going, you know, one-on-one to the end zone, things like that. But, you know, that was another one. They tried, they hit the wheel route to Elijah Arroyo off of play action. They tried another one up the right sideline to Jacoby George that was well defensed. And there was another, I mean, and I know that I'm only naming 4 and 5 and 6 plays, but there were times that what was called was aggressive. But what ended up happening because of the coverage on defense was not as aggressive a thing. Sometimes you got to check the ball down, you know, but after I think that those, you know, I think that he had I don't know if it was a ratio or a budget, you know, like, hey, we're going into Toys R Us, KB Toys. You can get 2 toys kind of a thing. Don't ask me about no more than 2. That's it. Pick your 2 and get your 2. I think that was Josh Gaddis's mandate, or Mario Cristobal's mandate to Josh Gaddis on Saturday. I said, look, you're going to get out of, how many offensive plays? I mean, the ratio probably could have gone up if we were more
77?
Explosive. Yes, 77 offensive plays. Yeah, I would say probably less than 1 in 10. Like 1 out of every 10 plays that we have, you can dial something up. Yeah, I mean, that actually probably works out to about 7. Yeah. So I would say, bro, yeah, every 10 plays, you get 1. That's it. You know, and it just wasn't, we just needed a little bit more explosion, like I've been talking about. And this is exactly what I was talking about. When you get down close inside the 10 and everything gets real tight there, that 5 yards of carry ain't 5 yards anymore, because them safeties and linebackers are coming up. You know what I mean? And yeah, you just got to find ways to be more productive and efficient, and adding back some of that explosion. I mean, you saw Devin O'Shane with a 25-yard touchdown reception with 4 missed tackles, but you get a guy in space with, and I said this wrong last week, 10-2 in the 100 speed. You know, he makes a guy miss. But again, Henry Parrish catches that ball, has all kinds of room. You know, some other guys catch some balls. I mean, the last offensive play of the game was, I mean, I know it was a contested, you know, square in or, you know, crossing route past the sticks on 4th down, but it was just a straight drop. You know, you can't have those things. So, yeah.
So that fits right into the first question we will serve up for the night on wide receiver play. Who is the best bet for stepping up at wide receiver?
I mean, Xavier Restrepo's out for a while, at least 6 weeks, says Mark Cristobal. Hopefully be back by Florida State for the end of the year, that game and the rest of the season. And then Jacoby George broke his finger in the game, so he's out. he looks like he was, actually living up to the promise that we heard about from him. If he cut inside instead of trying to hurdle that guy on that pass, I think that he scores on that bubble. But okay. Um, I don't know. I mean, like number one, it has to be Keyshawn Smith. He's the most talented receiver that we have on the field right now. Michael Redding, I think that he's decent in possession. He's a bigger body guy, 6'3", 195. And really, I think that it's not even going to be receiver. I think it's going to be integrating the tight ends. Jaleel Skinner was mentioned specifically by Mara Cristobal as a guy who's going to play more. Number 2 tight end in last recruiting class, 6'5", 230. From Bradenton IMG Academy. So, everybody's All-American. Everybody, Alabama thought he was signing with them. And then, sorpresa, he sent his NLI to Miami on the last day of the early signing period. And he was here in spring. So that's a guy who, he's a typical kind of flex, not an inline tight end, but a slot kind of receiving tight end. Because he played receiver exclusively when he was in high school in South Carolina before he transferred to IMG. So there's a guy that you can put in the slot and you can use him like a Brevin Jordan. He's going to play more. You got to get something out of Frank Ladson. He needs to step up, and everything. There's another guy, Colby Young. He's big. He's 6'4", 215, but I don't necessarily know that he's ready for prime time. Brashard Smith stepping into that role, vacated by Xavier Restrepo. He's a great slot receiver. He's shifty and fast. So there's another guy, but and then Elijah Arroyo and Will Mallory. So I think that really integrating the tight ends in the passing game more is going to be essential. And then, for the guys who are at wide receiver, one of the lowest per person scholarship rates on the team right now. I think we only have 7 scholarship receivers that are healthy. You really want to be, 11 or 12, if not more. You're just gonna have to make them step up. So maybe you throw more bubbles, maybe you throw more slants, maybe you throw more now screens. Just right off the snap hut and just throw it to the side and let him work. Maybe you find something with that. But I think that it's going to be a collective effort in the passing game, but I think it's going to be feeding those at the top of the rotation for receiver, but then also really, really, really increasing the frequency and utilization of the tight ends in the passing game. I think that's really where it's going to be, where the improvement can be seen for Miami at this position this year. But you're going to wide receivers turning the block, only defender. Yeah, oh man, I know Knox came. There was still, so he's saying that the wide receiver who was one-on-one running the fly route was blocking his corner. There was a safety in the middle of the field who still would have been able to come over and affect that play. I'm not saying he would have made the play, but it wouldn't have just been, hey, I'm blocking my guy, and then he walks in. There was another defender on the way over, if you look back at that one. And it was really just, yeah, that was killer. And I've gotten so far into this show already. We lost that game on Tyreek Stevenson messing up that punt return. Like that right there. I mean, and I said it at the time, I said, this is how you lose, because they were not able to move the ball at all. They had just gone 3 and out on their second possession. So Kevin Steele, after having given up some yards on the first possession, he went on the sideline and said, okay, in the program, and we're going to, change these things up. 1, 2, 3. Okay, we're going to punt it, and I get guys, you see that big Sunday hop, that big, woo, okay, it's coming to me, right? And even Stevenson fielded one like that against Southern Miss with 12, 13 yards of space, if you go back and look at that, because they brought it up after the game, and I've seen these replays on, these recap shows. Oh, well, he did that before. Yeah, but that was the guy right here, right? Like, it's different when there's space and you do that. Okay, cool, back up. I was going to back up. All right, I got room. I'm going to take it. I'm going to go. But yeah, when you have a guy right there, you already, first of all, you should have ran up and caught that ball if you're going to fair catch it, right? So go up and save the yardage. But then, yeah, it's the half measures, the indecision. It's the, amateur hour kind of stuff, and in that moment, giving them a 28-yard field. Hey, Jimbo, okay, I can get 28 yards. I can dial up whatever. And honestly, it's free money at that point. So, but that was such an impactful play. And the Paris drop, I think, even though that didn't directly lead to Texas A&M touchdown, that was as impactful in a negative way for Miami. So I was talking about, before somebody needs to make a play, we made unfortunately plays that live in infamy, not plays that live, on into the annals of history for greatness. So that's a thing. And I know that everybody's saying, "Hey, man, there are no moral victories." There was improvement that we've seen as compared to the last few times that Miami's played an elite level team. Hopefully it continues on forward. This was a very much winnable game. I think that even coming off the App State game, Miami probably should have won this game, to be perfectly honest. I know that on paper in the summer, it looks a little bit different, losing to Texas A&M, but losing to this Texas A&M team this way, especially, really is a sour taste in my mouth.
Yeah, for good reason. Ronald says that Josh Gaddis called a good game. Problem is that TVD cannot read a defense. Receivers were open, and he makes the wrong read all the time.
It's a different offense, and the reads are different. And so there is an element of struggling with that. I'm not going to lie. I said last week when we played Southern Miss and we got a free play, and Tyler Van Dyke made an incredible throw, fitting it in to Brashard Smith for a 35-yard gain in the middle of three defenders. Up that same sideline, Keyshawn Smith is butt naked, wide open, doing backflips and cartwheels.
Yeah.
Right. So it's one of those things. So, I mean, there were some struggles from Tyler. Again, he did miss some throws and things like that. But, there was a point in the game when he was 6 of 14 and the receivers had dropped 4 or 5 balls. And I mean, not even like contested or anything, like clear, like hit me in the hands, it's on the ground. Like, and that, even if you call it 5, but you get 3 of those 5, you're already at 9 out of, you probably have fewer attempts. So, instead of 14, you're probably 9 out of 12 or 11 and moving the ball and doing some things. So I'm not saying that Tyler is perfect, but there is a clear disconnect and mismatch between, who he is and what he does well versus what's being called, as opposed to last year, which Red Lashley and he were simpatico. I mean, they were on the Ted. They were on the same level. And I mean, Red Lashley was like, cool, I know exactly what to do with this kind of quarterback. I see exactly what he does well. Boom. And again, I don't bring up smash, that route concept, idly. Tyler Van Dyke, I am not going to go back and watch every single throw from last year. So stop. But I know for a fact, he had more yards on smash concepts than any other kind of concept that he threw. So again, if you bring that up into the red zone, then you're feeding into something that he does well, but you're not even calling that at all. It's like, it's one of those simple things that is a small thing that you can do. And I'm not saying it's going to work every single play. And I'm saying you got to call it 22 times a game, but you haven't called it this year, and it's just, there is a disconnect. And I think that disconnect has Tyler less comfortable in general, and his performance is clearly struggling, and that's going to have to take a step forward because Miami is going to have to find explosive plays in the passing game. And for everyone who was saying that things were going to change, and once we opened up the playbook and did some more, again, Josh Gaddis did call some things, did try to dial up some vertical throws and things like that. The rate of explosive offensive plays for Miami is lower now than it was before the Texas A&M game. So for everybody saying that, fine, we're just going to open it up and everything is going to get better, it's actually continuing to get worse.
3 plays over 20 yards in the passing game, 1 play, a Henry Parrish run at 20 yards. So 4 total plays, 3 in the passing game over 20. So what's curious about what you just outlined is you don't even need to know anything about football to make this observation. If somebody's really good at doing something, and they proved it, in this case, Tyler Van Dyke against the ACC in 2021. So you know what he does well. And then I can even understand the thought that, okay, even though he did all these things well, and I'm sure they reviewed every pass that he made in 2021 a zillion times, not once, a zillion times, to understand exactly what he's doing well and what he struggled in, which wasn't a heck of a whole lot. But then let's say, because of just different philosophies, different approaches, wanting to do something different with him, I understand trying that out. And I'm not talking about in September. Trying it out, you got spring practice, you got winter workouts, you got all sorts. You got him standing at a chalkboard. If you got all sorts of different ways to determine, okay, is he going to be able to make these adjustments? And I would think that they would have had plenty of indication as to whether he was capable of doing that.
Yeah. I mean, but shout out to Mike Tyson. Everybody has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. Like, yeah, okay, going up on the whiteboard. Okay, yeah, I'm not saying that he doesn't understand the concepts. I'm sure that he does. But the way that it works on a granular level is different, and clearly he's struggling with that mightily. And yeah, we just need to do something different. And I mean, like, but both. There were a couple bubble screens. Jacoby George almost got loose on his. There were two to the other side of the field. If you make those blocks, like Brashard Smith is outrunning that angle from that linebacker on the first one. And that was Ladson and Redding, I want to say. But they whiffed on those two blocks. Like, and if you're getting Brashard Smith going downhill with a linebacker trailing and a safety coming on an angle, maybe. Look, we saw a play like that last year with Jalen Knighton in the North Carolina game. 1-on-1 in space, going downhill, chop, chop, chop. I'm inside and gone, But the guys at the point of attack don't make their blocks. It's just, I don't want to sound like I'm parroting what the coaches said, but if you really watch the game, there were things that were done that could and would and were designed to be way more explosive than they were. But the breakdown was maybe the blocking. Maybe it was, the guy dropped the ball. Maybe it was, it's never come together. It's just been one person in the band not being together, right, makes it sound like crap. The bass player is playing the wrong route on the, you're over there and you're not playing Billie Jean. You're playing something else on the bass. And so everybody's like, yo, we're on a different tune. It's that. And I mean, like, some of the notes are probably going to cross over. You got some, chord tones. So like, yeah, I got that E in that chord. So I'm playing the third, not the C. Like, I mean, it'll work, but it's not the right song, or the right part, and it's just that keeps coming up. And I get it. It's a new offense. I get it's a new install and everything. But like, there's just been very few times in the past game where everybody's done what they need to do. And that really is, I think, the thing that needs to change, because the structure is there to be good, and I'm not saying great. I'm not saying Lincoln Riley at USC, which is like both the most efficient and explosive offense in America, because he's a genius. But again, even if you get league average from where, because Miami is not there. I mean, running the ball, sure, 4 yards in a cloud of dust, cool. Explosiveness is not there in by any metric. But even if you get league average, even if you get top 75, that's such a sight. That's 50 places or more difference from where Miami is in terms of explosiveness. So if you end in the top 70, that means you're probably going to be top 50 or 40 for the rest of the season. It's there, but are you going to make that block? Right? Even though the ball didn't come to you, even though you might be a little bit tired, even though you might be a little frustrated because you dropped that ball before, right? Are you going to catch that ball across the middle when I've schemed you one-on-one on a linebacker, bro? Right? A skill player here at Miami, one-on-one on a linebacker, that should be cash money every fucking time, period. But you want to drop the ball because you want to think about catch the ball and then go get this money, right? But everybody's not, it's just not fitting together. It's just not, and it's just, and it's frustrating, because even if a couple of those plays do sync up, if everything does chain together, everybody does their job, even with a couple of those plays, and especially in a couple of these instances, especially the Brashard Smith bubble and the Henry Parrish drop, right? Those two plays changed the entire complexion of the offensive game. The entire complexion, because both of them might have scored.
My observation at one point in this game, and I'm not watching it like you, I'm not watching number one with the knowledge of the personnel, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, everything else I could add up that you know about Miami football and what they do and what the personnel is, even though I soak up as much as possible here and so forth. And I'm watching two other games at the same time just because of what I do and I'm
Yeah.
everything I'm trying to. So I'm just. But at one point in this game, I thought, and I don't want to overstate this because Max Johnson didn't play some scintillating game by any stretch. You know, he went 10 for 20, whatever. So he only completed 10 balls. But at one point, I thought, if all I had to go on was this game, I would say that Max Johnson's a better quarterback than Tyler Van Dyke. Like, Tyler Van Dyke had time to throw most of the time. Max Johnson was getting lit up.
Under siege by this Miami defense.
Ooh,
Absolutely.
yes, the pass rush was impressive. See, there's another reason you should win this game. The Miami pass rush was relentless. The Texas
Mm-hmm.
A&M pass rush was spotty once in a
Texas
while,
A&M wasn't able to run the ball. You know,
and he
they
delivered
ended
some
up,
throws under heavy pressure.
which is a
It was
high
pretty
degree of
impressive,
difficulty.
difficult throws.
Yeah. I mean, and we've seen that from him his entire career. I don't know why. It just seems more lucky because he's left-handed, I think, than right-handed. But like, he stands in there and made some, some throws. Obviously, when he beat A&M when he was at LSU last year, that last touchdown, he's getting
Oh,
blasted from the arm side and drops it in a bucket. So I'm not going to say he doesn't have talent, and he does, but yeah, under siege and I mean all day, and you get some great coverage. Tyreek Stevenson with a couple PBUs. Shout out to DJ Ivy. I'm going to be as loud
yeah,
with the credit as I was with the criticism. That's a guy who played his ass off.
yeah.
Broke up multiple third down. They're just like, cool, we're going to target you on third down because everybody else has, and it's worked. And he's like, not today. And so he was really there affecting when the Johnson kid had a little bit of time or he's trying to get the ball out quick. Cool. Then Miami secondary is white on rice, just on them and everything, and just it was really disheartening. And that just they had two drives over 50 yards. One was a field goal and one was the last touchdown, which they hit a couple plays, against some pressure, and they were able to string it together. But past that, they were sub 30 yards per drive. It was just like, it was a really dominating performance by the defense. But, you have a 28-yard drive for a touchdown after Stevenson messed up that fumble return. And it, like, I can't overstate it. Like, that was the play that really, really, really did it. And then again, we've listed off some of these other plays. So, we really had a prime opportunity. And then some of the conservatism on top of that. And then I know, or I'm learning, I guess, that, Mario Cristobal is known for the early random alignment timeout early in the third quarter. You need to leave that shit somewhere else, buddy. Be perfectly honest. I mean, like, he called a timeout like 40 seconds or a minute and 20 seconds into the third quarter on defense. Or no, we were on offense. For alignment issues or whatever. I'm like, you need to communicate with them. Hey, maybe even take the 5-yard penalty because we're going at 7 yards a clip. So even if we run it for 6 yards, because Henry Parrish is going to get an extra 3 yards per carry than he's supposed to anyway. You're still in second and manageable. So burning that timeout there at the super top of the third quarter, no. That's not going to be good enough. And if that's the thing that you've been doing and I've missed it while you were over in Eugene, then, I mean, talk to Kevin Steele, talk to Charlie Strong, talk to somebody else on staff, talk to Ed Reed, who's one of the smartest players that's ever played, and be like, update that clock management. But something like that, no, I don't need to see that anymore. Because then later in the game, when we're trying to stop them and get the ball back, my group chat is going crazy. Why are we not calling that timeout at the first down? Because we took that timeout at the beginning of the third quarter. So we had to wait until after second down and after third, so that the clock is not running on fourth, all the way through. So, that had a direct impact on the play on the field and everything. And it's just completely unnecessary. And, I know that Mario Cristobal knows more football than I am. I'm not going to sit here and say that he does not, but that's not acceptable. That is not a proper utilization of timeouts in the second half. If it was on the other side of halftime and it's because you're going to get 3 more, Sure, fine. Hey, you got 3, burn 1, whatever. I don't really care. But a minute or 2 into the third quarter, absolutely unacceptable. Leave that somewhere else, buddy. Leave that somewhere else.
Yeah, I didn't get that either.
Well, I was tweeting about it, and then all these working fans were like, "Oh, hey there, crystal ball clock management. We have missed you that early within the first 2 minutes of the third quarter timeout, and da 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 da." Didn't know it was a thing. Learned it was a thing. That thing needs to go somewhere else. Effective Saturday. I don't need to see that kind of thing ever again.
Knox Kane, appreciate you being here. Knox Kane 94, super sticker from you. Thank you so much. Brandon chiming in here. Cam, do you think Josh Gaddis's conservative red zone offense is more his style of play calling or the lack of elite playmakers on offense?
Lack of playmakers on offense, 100%, because even when he was at Michigan last year, you saw creative play calls down in the red zone. And I didn't watch it. Well, I watched about 3 or 4 Michigan games last year, but especially that Ohio State game. There was nothing conservative when they got down there. There was nothing conservative about that, until they had built that lead, and then they're going to run a little bit more clock in the game. But yeah, no, I think it's the lack of elite playmakers. If you had Amon Richards at wide receiver, you call plays differently. If you had Charleston Rambo at wide receiver, Mark Harley at wide receiver, you know what I mean? You call things differently. So I really think that there's that. And at some point, I think that when Miami got down, there was maybe a little bit of playing to keep it close, not playing to win from, I think it's from Chris Ball on down. I think it was really conservative. I think they really buttoned it up and just said, hey, we're going to just kind of take baby steps. And if that works, that works. But I would rather do that and be close than try to take some home run swings and strike out, as it were.
Falconer X, appreciate you being here as always. Thank you, man. Falconer X coming back with this one. The TVD, and I saw this referenced on something, not the exact quote or whatever it was, but it was, a third party type of tweet or whatever on social media. Did he actually call out the fan base today?
I didn't see what he said today.
Okay, it was something about liking to enjoying.
No, that was before. That was previous.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, because he was asked directly ahead of the Texas A&M game, what's it, do you like being booed or blah, blah, blah. And he's like, yeah, and I get hype off of that. So it's whatever. I love going in places and shutting them up. And, it's different when you have on-campus stadiums because, they have basically the college atmosphere and the whole student section, this whole student body of the university is there and they're screaming at you and everything. And I feed off of that. I love that. I love that environment. And, I love going in there and trying to shut them up. We did that at, North Carolina. Ended up losing that game, but, he referenced North Carolina and other away games that they played. And then basically people took it and flipped it and was like, oh, Miami's home stadium sucks. That's not what he said. But, and even people are getting upset when, I know there was another quote about, because he was then asked about that today. And, I saw all, the local beat writers, use the direct quotation from Tyler. And then people were like, oh, they're getting up in arms about that and everything. If you're mad about it, go show up. Show up to the stadium. We'll be there. Kickoff's at 3:30. You know where Hard Rock Stadium is. If you don't know, Google it. It's right there at the corner of 199th and 27th Ave, right in Miami Gardens there. You can get there. You get off on the Palmetto at 27th and, go up. You can go take Turnpike. You take 95, County Line Road. There's a million ways to get there. So if you feel some kind of way, then go show up.
To Uncle Bill's point here, can't both be true that the offensive line played well, especially in the running game, but they also made mistakes?
Absolutely.
Do both.
Right. Yeah, this is not a binary either or, it's not binary, not Boolean, either this or that kind of a situation. They played well. They absolutely played good. And there's room for improvement. I think that Justice Oluwaseun, who had that holding or one of the holding penalties that you're mentioning, maybe both, also missed a couple blocks, even in the run game at right guard. If Miami wants to be the kind of team that they want to be, I think that maybe we, develop. I mean, not even develop. We rotate. You move DJ Scaife into right guard, or you put either John Campbell, who's playing really well at left tackle, or Zion Nelson coming back. Either one of them at right tackle, and then you take Oluwaseun out of the lineup. Maybe the Sagapolu kid in there instead. Every time that there was an issue, number 70 on the offensive line at right guard was, if not the issue, he was right near the issue, or, a party to the pressure or whatever it was. So, yeah, I think that there was a good performance. I also, again, do not let great be the enemy of good. You know what I mean? Or perfection. Don't let perfect be the enemy of all right. And I think it was better than all right. But again, good is not perfect. And I agree with you that there were some things that need to be better, especially in the red zone. I don't think that they had a good showing in the red zone specifically. So now the discussion is not, okay, this group is terrible or abjectly terrible or anything like that. It's what do we do and how do we work together, and also with the offensive coordinator scheming up and calling the plays to get the same performance that you're getting in the middle, of the field from the 20 to the 20. How are you going to now work with the offense and call the offense and develop that offense that you get that same kind of production and performance inside the red zone when it gets tight? That, I think, is the point of discussion, not saying, okay, well, we're going to throw the baby out with the bathwater, and now all of a sudden, because of a couple issues, that was not a good performance. Myself personally, disagree.
I'm looking up my own personal quarterback rankings and produced whatever video I did, top 25 quarterbacks, and that's what I had coming into this season, because Willie's telling me that I put a lot of praise on TVD. Yeah, I did put a lot of praise. He earned it. That's where I had him ranked. The transfer quarterbacks. My bad. There we go. Number 5. That was my list to start the season. So anyway, he can play. He can play. Just
there's been a lot that's been left to be desired, man. He's not played up to the standard. He's not played up to his prior performance. We've seen this guy. We've seen him do lots of things on the field. You know what I mean? And he's not playing to that level right now. So, yeah, I don't think it was wrong to give him the praise and everything. And we've seen these things from him. But yeah, he needs to start playing like himself. And I think that, on offense, we need to do some things to help him, because now I think we're seeing why Mike Harley, after 6 years in college, ends up the all-time career, or 5, 6, whatever, the all-time career leader in receptions for the Miami Hurricanes. And in his 1 year at Miami, Charleston Rambo set the record for single-season receptions. I think that we're seeing why that is right now, because there wasn't nothing else in that receiver room. And, absent those two, it's a lot of guys not getting open, and okay, we're going to have to dial this back, and everything. And it's, when Mark Richt got here, there was the lack of speed on the roster. He famously, was asked about, we got to ask him at Media Day one year that I went. And he was like, yeah, we need more speed. Like, we can't simulate the speed that we're going to see. Whether it was, I forget which receiver was at Carolina right then, or Clemson, if we didn't play them that year. But he mentioned a couple of, speedy teams, like, and it's like, we can't replicate that. Like, we simply cannot. And, and that was really talking about the offensive, the wide receivers. So then you go get guys like, Mark Pope and da-da-da. But now it's to the point where it's not a specific trait that's missing. It's just overall talent. So, and this has just continued to be a thing with, top tier wide receivers going elsewhere. And 2 days time, Hakeem Williams from my Fort Lauderdale Stranahan High School is going to make a commitment somewhere. I do not believe that that's going to be Miami that he picks on Friday. So do with that what you will. But there definitely needs to be an influx of talent at wide receiver. And Miami and the coaches knew this, man. They went after so many guys in the transfer portal. You get a Frank Ladson. There was the kid from James Madison, the record-setting wide receiver who ended up at, I forget where. But yeah, he had like 1 year in FCS and like broke every record, and so they were like, cool, like, whatever. Whiff on him, whiff on like probably 2 or 3 other dudes, at wide receiver. Like they knew that this was going to probably be an issue. Maybe not to this level because you have the blanket, the roommate, Xavier Restrepo. Okay, we can, just give him the ball. And again, I think that he's a good player and obviously productive, but this just goes to reinforce the fact of what I said last week. And if Xavier Restrepo is your best wide receiver, then you're in a bad place because he should be a number 3. I'm sorry. And there's nothing wrong with being a great number 3. Braxton Berrios just got a second contract in the NFL by being a really good number 3, pushing to be, well, he probably maybe number 2 in the Jets. But yeah, there's a real lack of top end talent at wide receiver, and it's really going to be something that Josh Gad is going to have to scheme around. But luckily, we got all the tight end talent in the world. So, instead of going 4 wide, let's go 2 tight, whatever you got to do.
Well, the few times that he's been in games, and I'm sure I've missed most of it because of the time of the game and the opponents, but when I've seen him in spring ball as well, Jake Garcia, he can really deliver. So I'm not going there in terms of the Tyler Van Dyke needs to be benched or anything like that. But if this continues, at what point do you think about making a switch?
3 losses. I would say 3 ACC losses. Then you can maybe have that conversation. I don't really think there's a time before that. I mean, I know that Tyler needs to play better, but I'm not putting this on Tyler.
Yeah.
Entirely. So this is
no.
No.
So why would you attach pulling him to losses?
I mean, because clearly it's not getting done. So if we get to a point where we're losing games that we shouldn't be losing, hey, then anything is on the table for a conversation. I'm not saying I would, but I would say it would need 3 ACC losses before I would even have that conversation or thought.
Okay.
For me.
Falcon Rex is asking about wide receivers in the 23 class.
There's lots, Andy Jean from Miami Northwestern is one. Hakeem Williams, I just mentioned, from Fort Lauderdale Stranahan. There's Tyler Williams from Lakeland, who is really considering coming to Miami, which is kind of crazy because Miami, like Polk County is basically Alachua County South. Like all them boys from Lakeland go to Florida. All them boys from Lakeland have gone to Florida. The Pouncey twins, Chris Rainey, so many others that I can't even remember. But if you're a top tier guy from Polk County, you go up to Alachua County. But Miami seems to be in the fight to the finish for Tyler Williams. And that's encouraging. I'm sure that there's other ones. Brandon Ennis from American Heritage is committed to Ohio State. Miami continues to try to plug away at him and Mark Fletcher, both teammates at Heritage. Running back is Fletcher and the wide receiver is Ennis. And there's, those guys, but yeah, this is going to have to really, 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 really hit at wide receiver. And then you got the Washington twin. Well, they're twins. One is linebacker and one is the wide receiver. But, he's scoring from 80, 90 yards a week, the wide receiver one. So, that's an explosive kid. Now, he's only 5'10". So, you're looking at a number 2/3/ inside kind of guy. But yeah, we need a Tyler Williams. We need a Hakeem Williams. We need a Brandon Ennis. We need a 5-star, top 4-star, we need somebody to play the X, man. We need a guy who would just be like a him ball. Like, I don't really care what you call him. Throw him the ball. And everybody knows it's coming and you're not able to stop it. The Andre Johnsons of the world. You know what I mean? Like a guy with that size and skill. That, and Amon Richards was a him guy. Even though he was slight of build, he was only 182 pounds. But still, where's the ball going to go? 82. Cool. We need one of those guys. I gave you a few names and hopefully, one or more of those hit.
It's our policy to read all the super chats, and we do. Maybe for these particular super chats, because I always follow through on our policy. I think there's been maybe twice because of obvious language
Shenanigans,
or
right?
abuse of a particular gender or race or something like that. We blocked and that sort of thing. But other than that, but maybe I need to put some kind of dollar value on that, because this is going to be difficult to get out of my mouth here. Kyler Ren, Miami Kane. It's still sickening that Mark is an Ohio State fan. Well, I'm sorry to upset your stomach, but that's the way it's always been since I was 8 years old, and that's the way it will always be.
I mean, you
I'm
like
not
what you
a guy
like,
that flip flops teams and
right?
anything like that. I grew up that way, and here I am. Falcon Rex, offense too conservative, ball out like Miami.
I mean, it just needs to be a little bit more diverse in the pass game. I think with the diversity can come the explosion that we're looking for. But you got to have guys to make those plays, you know. And Charles Johnson, we need Michael Irvin, Santana Moss, Reggie Wayne, Andre Johnson. All of those guys were different. You know what I mean? Like Michael Irvin ended up being kind of like a possession guy, but like he got the name playmaker because you threw the ball, he made plays, gone out of there. Even in a big body dude, that was what made him the playmaker. We're number 47 at wide receiver. That's what made playmaker like that. Santana Moss was a track guy who came to Miami on a track scholarship because when he went to Carroll City, they had what was his name? Walt Frazier Coach Frazier was the coach there. They were running triple option, right? But he's still 10 flat, damn near in the 100, so that he's going making plays. Reggie Wayne was, a more possession receiver, but he was the yin to the Santana Moss Yang, and Andre Johnson was just a freak who was, 6'3", 205, running 4.3 flat, But each one of those guys was different, so it doesn't need to look a certain way. And also for Miami to be great, you need to have that diversity. You need to have all of those guys. So I remember. I mean, we need a bunch of wide receivers, and I think that this is going to come both from the recruiting ranks of high school and the transfer portal this year. Cam said about potential.
Oh, sorry.
I wouldn't hate it. I mean, no, I wouldn't. I didn't hate Jay Garcia, picking Miami, and I think that he has a bright future here. He's very, very talented. He's the highest ranked quarterback Miami has signed since Kyle Wright when I was in college. That speaks to the level of talent that he has, man. So there's that, and Ja'Carri Brown is he's a mound of clay right now that could be molded into pretty much anything. I mean, he can throw the ball through a brick wall from a mile away. Needs to get consistent with his footwork and with his arm action and with his accuracy. He's not the fastest guy. I mean, he's huge. He's, big dude has his shoulders. You already seen him, added into the Feld weight program. So he's already added weight and everything. He's not the fastest guy. You think that you think he would glide more as a runner, but he makes guys miss, and he's a gamer. And I don't think you're going to see him, for a while. But yeah.
Ramon
Soler, yeah.
You having Michigan contacts. Do you agree with Michigan fans saying that 2021 was a Harbaugh offense and not a Gaddis?
No, because if it were, then it would have always been that before and after and with Gaddis. It changed. He changed. And, voted by the industry of his peers as the best assistant in America. That didn't happen randomly. That wasn't by chance or happenstance. And I know people were all of my mentions the other day about, Michigan and their offense and everything that they're doing this year. First of all, good on them. They finally went to the better quarterback. They didn't pull a Tebow at Florida and play the substandard player. That's right. Tim Tebow should have not played. It should have been Cam Newton. Be mad. Cam Newton, who did everything that Tim Tebow did in his career in a singular season at Auburn. Anyway, I digress.
Yeah, but Tebow was one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. In college, he could have played somewhere as the starting quarterback.
He could have played somewhere, but not there. If they were being real about it, then they would have went with the more talented player. But that's what Michigan did. So good on them for that. Also, they played 3 of the worst teams in captivity to start the year. So, yeah, I know that they have had some explosive plays, but I mean, they played some really, really bad teams. And yeah, there's been that. But no, I do not agree with that statement at all.
All right, folks, I think we are done for the night. We'll put a capper on this. We got Middle Tennessee up ahead. I have not looked at an over, under, or point spread on that game. I'll take
26
a
and
shot.
a half and 52 and a half.
I was going to say 27. 27 was coming out of my mouth.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, it opened at
good at that.
27-ish, I want to say. So, yeah, it was 27 and 26 and a half is down.
Okay.
Both of them are down a point. I think it's 25 and a half and 52 and a half over under right now. Last I looked.
Yeah, I don't touch over unders. I would have no idea where that should be. Yeah, okay, that sounds about right. All right, folks, get on back here next to Wednesday at 7 Eastern time, right here at the Voice of College Football. And of course, catch Cam and the rest of the staff there at State of the U.
Yeah, man. So we got a new Fat Boy Eats recipe up today. So another tailgate treat. So go and check that out, obviously. And plenty of other commentary and analysis. I know Good, Bad, and Ugly was up on Monday because my power went out in the middle of the fourth quarter on Saturday night, which was wonderful for me. But yeah, so we have all kinds of stuff up there, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at the State of the U. Like you see it on the screen on the Chiron. Stateoftheu.com is open 24/7, 365. And I'm on Twitter myself at Underwood Sports, where I am through the first season of Industry on HBO and working through the second season, and also just finished my first season of my F1 manager career. You can join that ride along with me over there. And if not, that's fine. We'll see you next Wednesday.
And for any of the folks that are in the chat right now, they can vouch for our Discord and our Patreon for Miami and college football fans. You can sign up on patreon.com, search MarkRogersTV. We've got about 100 there for you to chat with. Cam, it's always appreciated. Excellent job as always. Not that you need to hear that from me, but thank you so much.
I appreciate it as always. We'll see you next week.